It began like any other royal morning, calm, graceful, filled with anticipation. The flags of Spain and Denmark fluttered side by side under a golden European sun. But within hours, that calm would erupt into tears, cheers, and the kind of emotion the world hasn't seen from royalty in years. Because today, history has been made. Princess Leonor of Spain has married Prince Christian of Denmark, and for the first time in modern memory, two royal nations are celebrating together. No rumors. No speculation. No more waiting. It's real. It's official. And it's far more emotional than anyone could have imagined. How did a story that began quietly between two young heirs become one of the most moving royal moments of this century? Let's take you there, inside the palaces, the ceremony, the vows, and the emotions that have left both Spain and Denmark in joyful disbelief. The day began in Copenhagen, where thousands lined the streets hours before the ceremony. Cameras captured the excitement, flags waving, church bells echoing across the skyline, children wearing tiny crowns, and royal fans from around the world pressing against barriers, hoping for a glimpse of the couple who have united two monarchies through love. Inside the Christiansborg Palace Chapel, the scene was breathtaking. The floral design alone took weeks, a blend of white Danish roses and red Spanish carnations, symbolizing unity. The air carried a mix of emotion and awe. Royal correspondents whispered that they hadn't seen anything like this since King Felipe and Queen Letitia's own wedding 2 decades earlier. And then, a hush fell over the room. The first glimpse of Princess Leonor, radiant, poised, emotional. Her gown, designed by Spanish couturier Lorenzo Caprile, shimmered softly under the chandeliers. It wasn't extravagant, it was symbolic, elegant simplicity representing the strength and humility of the future queen. Her veil, delicate lace passed down from Queen Letizia, was held by her sister, Infanta Sofia, who looked on with tears in her eyes. The crowd rose. Cameras flashed. And somewhere in the audience, Queen Letizia wiped away a tear before Leonor even reached the altar. Waiting for her was Prince Christian, dressed in the full Danish ceremonial uniform, his posture firm but his eyes soft with emotion. When their eyes met, the entire chapel seemed to exhale. The moment was real. This was not formality. This was love, raw and visible, unfolding before kings, queens, presidents, and the watching world. As the ceremony began, the Archbishop spoke of history, duty, and destiny. But his words faded when Leonor and Christian began their vows. Unlike past royal unions that stuck to rigid tradition, these two had written their own. Leonor began softly, her voice trembling but sure. "I was born to serve a nation," she said, "but today, I stand here choosing more than duty. I choose love, not as a queen, but as a woman. You are my equal, my friend, my home." Christian's response broke the formality of the moment. "I was taught to protect my people," he said, "but today, I promise to protect your heart." From this day forward, Spain and Denmark aren't two nations, they're one story. The chapel erupted in applause, something rare for a royal wedding ceremony. When the rings were exchanged, simple gold bands crafted from Spanish and Danish gold combined, it symbolized unity not just between two people, but between two crowns. Outside, the world watched live as the bells of Madrid and Copenhagen rang simultaneously. Streets across both capitals filled with celebration. In Madrid, the royal palace gates opened for public gatherings, with thousands singing, cheering, and waving flags. The Spanish press called it, El Día de la Unión Real, the day of royal unity. And yet, amid the joy, there were tears, tears of pride, of nostalgia, of hope. Many Spaniards who grew up watching Leonor transform from a shy young girl to a confident future queen found themselves deeply moved. For Denmark, seeing their beloved prince marry the heir to Spain's throne felt like a new chapter in Europe's royal history, one that symbolizes modern love beyond protocol. During the reception, emotions ran even higher. King Philippe's speech was one for the ages. He looked at his daughter and spoke from the heart. "Leonor, you were born with history waiting on your shoulders, but today, you've written your own. Spain is proud, not because you wear a crown, but because you carry it with grace and love." Then, turning to Christian, he said, "Take care of her, not because she's a princess, but because she is human, strong, kind, and real." The applause was long and emotional. Queen Letizia added a few words of her own, her voice steady but full of feeling. To love while under the gaze of the world takes courage. You've both shown that love can be royal and real at once. Spain welcomes not just a prince, but a son. Across the table, Crown Prince Frederick of Denmark smiled and raised his glass. Our nations have shared history, trade, and friendship, he said, but today, we share something more powerful, family. Later that evening, the newlyweds stepped out onto the palace balcony, a moment broadcast lived to millions. The music stopped, the crowd below roared, and as Leonor looked out over the sea of people, she turned to Christian and smiled. He whispered something, no one knows what, but it made her laugh, that genuine, unscripted laugh that royal watchers have come to love. And then came the kiss. Not a rehearsed gesture, not a public duty, but a real, emotional, quiet kiss that spoke volumes. It was the moment both nations exhaled together. From that balcony, you could see Spanish and Danish flags intertwined in the crowd. People cried openly, holding phones, recording a moment they knew was history. Even the international press, often critical, called it the most human royal moment of the modern era. But what came next truly defined the night. Inside the reception hall, as the music faded, Leonor and Christian shared their first dance as husband and wife. The song was chosen by both, a blend of Spanish and Danish melody titled, Two Hearts, One Crown. The orchestra played softly as the two danced in perfect rhythm. The lights dimmed, and for a moment, everything stopped. You could feel it, that sense of timelessness that happens only in moments that matter. When the music ended, Leonor looked up at Christian and whispered, "We did it." He smiled and said, "We always will." The crowd rose again, family, friends, royals, and world leaders, clapping through tears. As night fell, the celebration extended far beyond palace walls. In Madrid, people filled the streets. In Copenhagen, fireworks illuminated the sky. Across Europe, televisions replayed the highlights again and again, the vows, the kiss, the dance. But perhaps the most touching image of the night wasn't royal at all. It was one captured by a photographer near the palace gardens, Leonor and Christian walking hand in hand under the moonlight, no cameras, no guards, just two young people smiling, finally free. That image, now viral across the world, says everything. Because this wedding isn't just about history, it's about humanity. It's about two heirs who grew up under scrutiny and still found a way to make love look simple, sincere, and pure. In a world that often doubts the sincerity of royalty, Leonor and Christian have done something extraordinary. They've reminded millions that monarchy can still inspire emotion, unity, and faith in love. And that's why, today, Spain and Denmark are not just celebrating a royal marriage. They're celebrating a renewal of spirit, tradition, and togetherness. Princess Leonor and Prince Christian, two young royals who dared to be real, who chose each other not for diplomacy, but for destiny. Their story is no longer just a royal chapter. It's a symbol, a living testament that even in the 21st century, love can still move nations. As the lights of both palaces dim tonight, one thing is certain. This is not the end of a fairy tale, it's the beginning of a new royal era. A union that will echo for generations. A love story that history will never forget. Spain and Denmark, together, in heart and in crown.